I, 32M, put a baby monitor in my father Lawrence's room 4 months ago because he kept falling at night. He had a stroke 18 months before that, left side never recovered. He moved into our spare bedroom because he could not manage his own place anymore. Christina, 30F, my wife of 3 years, agreed to it. At first, Christina and I got together in 2020, married fast. She moved into my apartment, the one I had been renting since 25, and we split bills down the middle. Her rule. She was very specific about fairness, about nobody carrying anyone else. I respected it because I thought it meant independence. Turns out she only cared about fairness when it worked for her. When my dad had his stroke, we had been married about a year and a half. Lawrence was 61, lived alone, had nobody else. My mother Penelope left when I was 14, and I have not spoken to her in years. So when my dad went down, it was on me. I told Christina he was moving in, and she said she understood but we needed a timeline. I told her there was no timeline. He stays until he is better, or until I find assisted living I can afford. She did not push it then. First 6 months were fine. Dad was quiet, grateful, did his physical therapy exercises in the living room every morning before Christina woke up because he did not want to be in her way. He told me once he felt like a guest who overstayed. Christina overheard and later told me I should not have said this was his home too, because it gives him no incentive to move out. I told her I was not going to pressure a man recovering from a stroke. She told me I was being emotional. First real fight about it. After that, she stopped eating dinner with us, stopped asking about his therapy, gave him one-word answers when he tried talking to her. Every time I brought it up, she said she was tired from work. But she was not tired when she was on the phone with her sister Molly for 2 hours every night or going out 3 weekends in a row. I installed the monitor in March after Dad fell twice in 1 week. Audio and video, receiver on my phone. Christina knew it was there. What she forgot was that I could access the feed anytime. 3 weeks after I installed it, on a Thursday, I was on lunch break at work. Opened the app to check if Dad took his afternoon meds. The feed loaded and Christina was in his room, standing over him while he sat in his recliner. She told him she hoped he would die soon. She said I was wasting my life taking care of him and he was holding us back. She said she did not sign up to be a nurse and if he had any decency, he would tell me to put him in a facility. My dad just sat there, could not even turn to look at her because of the paralysis. She walked out and closed the door. I sat in my truck for 45 minutes, watched the clip 3 times, saved it to my phone, cloud, and sent it to my own email. Then I finished my shift. Did not call Christina. Did not text her. Went home. She had dinner on the table, asked how my day was. I said fine. That was 3 weeks ago. I have not said a word. And I need you to understand, I am not sitting on this because I am scared. I am sitting on this because when I move, Christina loses everything that matters to her in this situation. She treats my father like furniture in the way of her perfect life, and she has been telling Molly she wants me to choose between her and my dad. I know this because Molly's husband Nicholas plays basketball with me on Saturdays, and he told me Molly has been saying I am dragging my family down by keeping Lawrence around. Nicholas told me because he thinks I should know, and because he cannot stand Molly's attitude about it either. Here is the situation. Christina's name is not on my lease. She moved into my apartment. She pays half the bills, but legally she has zero claim to the unit. I already confirmed with my landlord that the lease renewal in July is mine only. Christina does not know this. She also does not know that my dad's retirement benefits are actually enough for a home aide 3 days a week, which I have already been arranging. She thinks I am too broke and stubborn to find alternatives. Wrong on both counts. But here is what matters. Nicholas told me that Molly has been helping Christina look at apartments for just the 2 of us, and Christina's big move is going to be an ultimatum at my birthday dinner next month. Either Lawrence goes to a facility by August or she walks. They think this is leverage. They think I will fold because I love Christina and cannot handle being alone with a sick father. They have no idea I already started packing her things into boxes and storing them in the hall closet when she is at work. 2 boxes so far. Winter clothes and books she has not touched in a year. She has not noticed. I am not confronting her yet. I am letting her plan her little ultimatum, letting her and Molly think they have the power. And then I am going to show her what happens when you tell a man's father that you hope he dies soon. More to come. Okay, so the thing that absolutely wrecks me about this is Lawrence doing his physical therapy before Christina wakes up. This man is dragging a half-paralyzed body through exercises at 6 in the morning because he doesn't want to inconvenience the woman who's living in his son's apartment rent-free on a 50-50 split she insisted on. He's out here treating her home like a hotel he's embarrassed to be staying at, and she's treating him like a piece of furniture she keeps stubbing her toe on. And Christina, like, I actually have to respect the audacity for a second. She moved into this man's apartment. Her name is on nothing. And she's out here building ultimatums like she's holding a royal flush when she's actually playing with Uno cards at a poker table. She and Molly are sitting there in the group chat thinking they're the masterminds of this situation, while Nicholas is literally passing screenshots across the basketball court every Saturday morning. The intelligence operation has been compromised, and nobody on their side has figured it out, because they're all too busy picking out bedroom furniture for an apartment that's about to become Patrick's solo financial nightmare. But honestly, what gets me more than the scheming is what she said to Lawrence. She walked into the room of a man who cannot physically turn his head to look at her, and told him she hoped he'd die. That's not frustration. Frustrated people slam doors and cry in the shower. That's someone who looked at a defenseless human being and decided he was safe to be cruel to because he literally cannot respond. That is a person telling you exactly what their character is when they think the consequences are zero. She just didn't know the consequences were recording in 1080. This man saved the video to his phone, the cloud, and his email. Triple redundancy. That's not anger. That's an engineer building a case. And he went home and said fine when she asked about his day. The self-control is genuinely terrifying. I would have combusted in the driveway. Update 1. All right. A lot happened since my original post, and some of you called exactly what was coming. So shout out to everyone who told me to keep my mouth shut and let her walk into it. That is exactly what I did. After I posted, I kept playing the whole normal husband routine. Dinners together, asking about her day, all of it. Meanwhile, I packed 2 more boxes. That made 4 total in the hall closet. She opened that closet once looking for an umbrella and did not even look down at the boxes because I put them behind the vacuum and the ironing board. I also finalized the home aide for my dad. Her name is Penelope. She is a certified nursing assistant, and she starts 3 days a week beginning July 1st. I set that up through my dad's retirement benefits, and it cost me nothing out of pocket. Christina still has no idea, but here is where things got complicated. Nicholas and I were shooting hoops last Saturday, and he told me something that changed the whole game. Molly has been telling Christina that if she leaves me, she and Patrick can move in together. Patrick is Molly, and Christina's older brother. He is 34, has been couch surfing for about 8 months since his last breakup. And apparently Molly's grand plan is that Christina and Patrick get a 2-bedroom together, split rent, and Christina finally gets to live without what Molly keeps calling the dead weight, meaning my father. Nicholas told me Molly already sent Christina listings in their area and that Patrick is fully on board because he needs a stable address for a custody arrangement he's trying to work out for his kid. So now, it is not just Christina. It is Christina, Molly, and Patrick all coordinating. Patrick needs Christina to leave me, so he has a roommate. Molly wants Christina out of my apartment because she has convinced herself that I am somehow ruining her sister's life. And Christina, well, Christina just wants my dad gone, and she has a whole support system telling her she is right. This changed my approach, because now if Christina leaves, she has a soft landing. She has a plan, a roommate, and a sister cheering her on. That is not what I want. I want her to deliver that ultimatum at my birthday dinner, and I want the ground to be gone from under her when she does. So I made a move. I started being extra nice to Christina. I brought her flowers from the grocery store on a Wednesday. I suggested we go to that Thai place she likes on Friday. I told her I had been thinking about our future, and I wanted her to know I appreciated her patience with my dad. She absolutely lit up. She told me she was glad I was finally seeing things clearly, and she even started being slightly less cold to Lawrence. She made him a plate at dinner on Thursday without me asking. First time in months. And I sat there eating and smiling and thinking about that video on my cloud drive the entire time. Now here is the new problem nobody saw coming. My dad told me something on Sunday morning while Christina was at a spin class. He said Christina had come into his room again, not to threaten him this time. She came in and sat on the edge of his bed and told him she was sorry for being distant and that she hoped he knew she cared about him. My dad told me he did not believe her for a second because of what she had said before. But he did not tell me what she had said before because he did not want me to know. My father heard his own daughter-in-law tell him she hoped he would die, and he has been sitting on that for weeks trying to protect me from it. That made me angrier than the original video. My dad, a man who cannot walk to the bathroom without a rail, is spending his energy protecting me, while the woman I married is running around planning her exit with her siblings and only threw him a fake apology because I bought her flowers and she thinks I am coming around to her side. I went to the gym that afternoon, and I sat in my truck in the parking lot afterward for a long time because I needed to think. The birthday dinner is in 12 days. Christina thinks it is just going to be us and maybe Nicholas and Molly. She does not know I already told Nicholas to make sure Molly comes. I want Molly there. I want Patrick there too, but I have not figured out how to make that happen naturally yet, without tipping anyone off. Meanwhile, Christina has been texting Molly constantly. I know this because Nicholas showed me Molly's phone last Saturday. Molly had a whole group chat going with Christina, and Patrick called Fresh Start, where they were discussing move-in dates, furniture splits, and who gets which bedroom. They had already picked an apartment, second-floor unit in a complex about 20 minutes from where we live. Patrick put down a deposit using money he borrowed from Molly. They are planning their whole new life, and I am sitting here with a video, a lease in my name only, a home aid starting in 2 weeks, and a birthday dinner where my wife plans to blow up my life in front of our family. She has no idea that I am the one holding all the cards. And I am done being patient about it. The dinner is next Saturday. I will update after. Lawrence is out here absorbing verbal abuse from this woman, and his first instinct, is to make sure his son never finds out so it doesn't hurt his marriage. This man is recovering from a stroke. Half his body doesn't work. He has every reason in the world to be angry, to be bitter, to tell his son immediately, and instead he swallows it and carries it alone, because he's worried about being a burden. A man who already wakes up early to do therapy so he doesn't inconvenience anyone, is now also carrying emotional shrapnel to protect the person taking care of him. That is a level of selfless love that Christina could not comprehend if you gave her a textbook and a year to study it. And then there's the fake apology. Christina made Lawrence a plate and sat on his bed and said she cared, but only after she got flowers and Thai food and thought her husband was softening up. She didn't apologize because she felt remorse. She apologized because the strategy changed. Molly probably told her in that group chat, "Be nicer to the old man so it looks better when you drop the ultimatum." That apology wasn't for Lawrence. It was set dressing for the performance she's about to give at the birthday dinner. She's staging a whole production and she doesn't realize the director already read the script. The group chat being called Fresh Start is poetic, in a way none of them are smart enough to appreciate. 3 adults in a text thread dividing up bedrooms and furniture for an apartment funded by borrowed money and fueled by the assumption that a man who has been quietly outmaneuvering all of them for weeks is just going to crumble at a steakhouse. Patrick put down a deposit with money he borrowed. This whole escape plan is built on credit, resentment, and the complete miscalculation that they're the smartest people in the room. 12 days. This man is counting down like it's a space launch. Update 2. If you are still following this, buckle up because the birthday dinner happened, and it did not go the way Christina planned. I figured out how to get Patrick there. Told Christina I wanted something bigger this year, and that since her family mattered to her, I wanted Molly, Nicholas, and Patrick all there. She got this calculating look and said she would make sure they came. I bet she thought more witnesses meant more pressure for the ultimatum. She was setting up her own firing squad and did not know she was the one against the wall. Dinner was at a steakhouse 10 minutes from our place. Nicholas and Molly already seated when we arrived. Patrick showed up late in a wrinkled button-down looking like he had not slept in days. For about 40 minutes, it was normal conversation. Nicholas kept glancing at me because he knew what Christina had planned, but not what I had planned. It happened after entrees arrived. Christina put her fork down and told the table she had something to say. She said she loved me, but something had to change. She said my father's situation was straining our marriage and she had been researching facilities that could give Lawrence better care. She made it sound so reasonable, so rehearsed. Molly nodding along like a TED Talk she had memorized. Then Christina said she needed an answer by August. Either Lawrence goes into professional care or she steps back from the marriage to protect her own well-being. Those were her actual words. Protect her own well-being from a 61-year-old man who spends his days watching cooking shows and doing arm exercises with a rubber band. I let the silence sit. Then I told her since we were being honest, I had something to share too. I pulled up the baby monitor clip on my phone and played it at full volume right there at the table. Christina telling my father she hoped he would die soon. Telling him he was holding us back. Telling a man who cannot defend himself that if he had any decency, he would disappear. Molly went white. Patrick pushed his plate away. Christina stared at the screen, then immediately started explaining. She was frustrated that day. She did not mean it literally. She was under pressure and lost her temper. One moment out of months of stress, I was taking it out of context. She had already apologized to Lawrence, which I knew was a fake apology she only made because I brought her flowers. I told her no context makes it acceptable to tell a sick man you hope he dies. I told her I knew about the apartment with Patrick. I knew about the group chat called Fresh Start. I knew Molly coached this ultimatum for weeks. Everything. Christina turned to Nicholas immediately because she figured out where my information came from. Molly turned to Nicholas too. That started a second fight. Molly told Nicholas he had no right sharing private family conversations. Nicholas told her what Christina said to my father was not private conversation, it was abuse. Molly said he just destroyed her relationship with her sister. Nicholas told her Christina destroyed it herself when she wished a disabled man dead. Patrick tried telling everyone to calm down, and Nicholas told Patrick the only reason he wanted Christina to leave was so he had a roommate for his custody situation. Patrick stood up and told me he had nothing against me, but he needed a place to live and Christina needed out. And it made sense. I told him his housing problem was not my dad's fault. Patrick grabbed his jacket and left. Christina kept going. She said I set her up, that I lied to her for weeks, let her think everything was fine while I planned this. I told her yes. I told her I watched that video and decided she was done in my apartment and spent every day since making sure of it. The lease is in my name. Her name is not on it. She has until end of the month to get her things. She said I could not throw her out. I told her I was not throwing her out. I was choosing my father over someone who wished him dead. And she had an apartment picked out so she should go sign the papers. Molly grabbed her purse and told Christina they were leaving. Christina told me this was not over. They walked out. Nicholas stayed, finished his drink, and told me happy birthday. That was Saturday. Christina has been at Molly's since. But last night around 11, she showed up outside my building. Doorcam caught everything. She was at my window yelling for me to come out and talk. I watched from my bedroom. She stayed 20 minutes before Molly pulled up and drove her away. Nicholas staying behind to finish his drink and say, happy birthday, is the coldest, most beautiful act of solidarity I have ever heard described in a Reddit post. This man just watched two marriages detonate at a steakhouse, and his response was to sip his bourbon and toast the wreckage. Give Nicholas a statue. Put him in a museum. He chose the right side. It cost him his own marriage to Molly. And he did not flinch. That is a friend. And look, I know some people are going to say this guy was cruel for planning the whole thing instead of just confronting Christina privately. And I get that impulse. But think about what happens if he confronts her alone at home. She cries. She says it was one bad moment. She says she was stressed. She love bombs him for 2 weeks. Molly never finds out her coaching blew up. Patrick still gets his roommate. And Lawrence is still living in a house with a woman who told him to die. Except now, she's just better at hiding it. The public reveal wasn't cruelty. It was the only way to make sure the entire support system that enabled this couldn't just quietly reorganize and pretend it never happened. Christina's defense was incredible too. You set me up. You lied to me for weeks. Ma'am, you were running a group chat called Fresh Start, coordinating your exit strategy with your brother and sister while smiling across the dinner table every night. You were lying to him for months. He lied to you for 3 weeks, and apparently that's the unforgivable part. The lack of self-awareness is so profound it's almost artistic. And Patrick, my guy, showed up in a wrinkled shirt looking like he slept in his car, sat through the apocalypse, and his big contribution was, I have nothing against you but I need a roommate. Brother, you are 34 years old, and your entire housing plan depended on your sister's marriage failing on schedule. Read the room. Read any room. Final update. Last one. This is what happened when Christina came for her things. She showed up on a Wednesday afternoon with Molly and Patrick. I expected just her, but I was not surprised because Christina has never done anything alone when she could have backup. I had already moved her boxes out of the hall closet and put them by the front door. 6 boxes total by that point. I had also gone through the apartment and separated anything that was clearly hers. Clothes, toiletries, a blender she brought when she moved in, some framed photos from our wedding. Everything else was mine. The furniture, the TV, the kitchen table, all of it was in the apartment before she ever moved in. Molly came in first and immediately started looking around the apartment like she was doing an inventory. She started pointing at things and telling Christina that the bookshelf was half hers and that the couch was bought together. I told Molly the bookshelf was mine from before the marriage and the couch was bought with my credit card, which I have the receipt for. Molly told me I was being petty. I told her she could think whatever she wanted, but nothing was leaving this apartment that did not belong to Christina. Patrick stayed in the hallway the entire time. He would not come inside. I think after the dinner, he did not want to be in the same room with me, and honestly, I respected that more than Molly walking in and trying to claim my furniture. Christina started going through the boxes and telling me I had missed things. She said her winter jacket was not in there. I told her it was in box 3. She said her hairdryer was missing. I told her it was in the bathroom cabinet where it always was, and she could go get it. Every few minutes, she would name something else, and I would tell her exactly where it was, because I had spent days going through everything. She was trying to catch me slipping, and I was not going to give her that. Then she tried a different approach. She sat down at the kitchen table and told me she wanted to talk. She said the dinner was humiliating, and I had no right to do that in front of her family. She said that what she told my father was wrong, but that I had responded with cruelty by planning this whole thing behind her back instead of just confronting her. She told me a real partner would have come to her directly. that we could have gone to counseling, that marriages survive worse than this. She said I chose revenge over communication. I told her she chose my father's room to deliver that speech instead of talking to me about how she felt. I told her she had weeks to come to me and say she was struggling, that she was overwhelmed, that she needed help. Instead, she went to a man who could not fight back and told him to die. I told her that was not a bad day or a moment of frustration. That was who she is when nobody is watching. And I saw it. I told her counseling does not fix someone who looks at a disabled person and sees an obstacle to remove. She started crying and Molly jumped in. Molly told me I was being cruel and that I had manipulated the whole situation. She said Nicholas had betrayed her trust and that their marriage was now falling apart because of what he told me. She said I had ruined multiple relationships just to win an argument. I told Molly that Nicholas showed me the Fresh Start group chat where they were planning Christina's exit with a deposit already paid, and that if she wanted to talk about betrayal, she could start with the fact that she spent months helping her sister leave me behind my back while pretending everything was normal at family dinners. Molly did not have an answer for that. She just told Christina to finish packing so they could leave. While Christina was getting the last of her things from the bedroom, I went and sat with my dad. He was in his recliner watching a cooking show. I told him Christina was moving out and that I knew what she had said to him. I told him I saw it on the baby monitor weeks ago. He looked at me for a long time and then asked me if that was why I did all of this. I told him yes. He told me he wished I had not found out because he did not want me to lose my wife over him. I told him I did not lose my wife over him. I lost her because she showed me exactly who she was, and I believed her. Christina came out with her last bag. She stopped in the hallway and looked at me and told me she was going to remember this. She said I threw away 3 years over one sentence. I told her it was not one sentence. It was every dinner she skipped, every conversation she avoided with my dad, every night she spent on the phone with Molly planning her exit. The sentence was just the part she got caught saying out loud. She walked out. Molly followed. Patrick was already waiting by the car. I closed the door and locked it. That night I checked the door cam because I had a feeling. Sure enough, around midnight, Christina was back. Standing outside my window. Not yelling this time, just standing there staring up at the building. The look on her face on that door cam was something I will never forget. Not rage, not sadness, just the realization that she had planned everything and still lost. The homemade Penelope started the following Monday. My dad is doing better. Nicholas and Molly are separated, and Nicholas has been coming over on Saturdays to shoot hoops like always. Patrick moved into that apartment alone and is paying the full rent himself. I still have the video saved in 3 places. Not because I need it anymore, because I never want to forget what someone looks like when they think nobody is watching. I did not lose my wife over him. I lost her because she showed me exactly who she was, and I believed her. That line is going to live in my head for a very long time. Because that's the whole thing, right? That's the entire story compressed into one sentence. Lawrence spent weeks thinking he was the reason his son's marriage was falling apart, carrying that guilt on top of the paralysis, on top of the stroke recovery, on top of hearing his daughter-in-law wish him dead. And his son looked him in the eye and told him, "Hey, no, you're not the variable here. She is. You didn't cause this. You revealed it." And Christina standing outside at midnight, not yelling, not crying, just standing there. That image is haunting because it's the exact moment the delusion collapsed. For months, she operated under the assumption that she was the one with options. She was the one with leverage. She was the one who could walk away and leave him scrambling. She had the group chat, the apartment, the brother, the sister, the whole exit strategy mapped out like a military operation. And none of it mattered because she fundamentally misunderstood who she was married to. She thought she was married to a man who would break. She was married to a man who would wait. Molly blaming Nicholas for the fallout is the most predictable move in the entire saga. You destroyed my relationship with my sister. No, Molly. You spent months helping your sister psychologically torment a disabled man and plan an ambush on her husband, and the one person in your circle who had a conscience said something. Nicholas didn't destroy anything. Nicholas was the only one in that entire family who treated this man's father like a human being worth defending, and it cost him his marriage to Molly. And he's still showing up on Saturdays to play basketball. That tells you everything about who the real ones are. And Christina's final card, "You threw away 3 years over one sentence," is so perfectly, almost surgically wrong that it actually makes you understand her completely. She genuinely believes this was about one sentence. She cannot see the months of coldness, the weaponized silence, the dinners she skipped, the exit strategy, the cruelty toward a man who couldn't defend himself. She cannot see any of that as the real problem because in her mind, those were all justified. Those were all reasonable responses to an unreasonable situation. The only mistake in her own story was getting caught. And that is why counseling was never going to work. You can't fix someone who thinks the crime was the recording, not the act.